My name is Betty Johnson, 42 years old. I live with my husband Davis. Our daughter is in 6th grade and our son is in 5th grade. Now that the kids are becoming more independent, I've transitioned from a part-time to a full-time caregiving job. Our daughter Lily is a very responsible older sister. When I come home exhausted from my unfamiliar full-time job, she sometimes cooks dinner for us. Our son Rick is a lively little rascal. Rick, don't leave your clothes everywhere. Put them in the hamper properly. Lately, Lily has been helping me by reminding Rick to pick up after himself, which is a big help. Supported by my lovely children, I'm juggling both work and household chores every day. But there's one dark cloud in our otherwise happy life. Davis doesn't lift a finger around the house. Worse, he won't even take care of his own things. Hey T, I've been waiting for ages. More rice, my beer's empty too. Hurry up and refill it. Grab the TV remote for me and bring some tissues and a Q-tip. Talk about old school chauvinism. This isn't just old-fashioned. It's like going back to the early 1900s. Wait, would even a man from the early 1900s expect someone to bring him a Q-tip? Maybe I should apologize to those men. In the evenings and on weekends, our house is constantly filled with my husband's shouting. It would be faster if you just got the TV remote yourself. When I say things like that, Davis gives me a piercing glare. Isn't it a wife's job to take care of her husband? Didn't your parents teach you that? My dad did his own laundry and cleaning. And every once in a while, he'd even cook for us. Davis just sighs in irritation when I reply like this. Your dad was pitiful, always under his family's thumb, leading a miserable life. Don't badmouth my dad. Compared to you, who's always acting high and mighty, my dad was truly kind and wonderful. I raised my voice, angry that he had spoken ill of my father. That's why I can't stand women, they're always so hysterical. After saying that, he stormed off to our bedroom and we haven't spoken for a week. Even so, his habit of barking orders hasn't changed. Hey, pass the soy sauce? And I need a refill on my tea. Lately I've been secretly regretting marrying such an old-fashioned man. 12 years ago in the spring, our long-awaited first child, Lily, was born. Thinking back, my husband's and my in-laws' attitudes weren't great even then. Ah, girl, well, we can hope for better with the second one, said my husband, not seeming too pleased with our daughter's birth. You're both still young. No need to be too disappointed. My mother-in-law chimed in, trying to console him. That comment still stings. I guess you were a disappointment too when you were born, since you're also a girl, I should have retorted. I was too exhausted from my first childbirth to confront my husband, or my in-laws. A year later, our son Rick was born. He's so cute. He's got my eyes and nose, doesn't he? My husband was overjoyed with our son's birth. My in-laws gave us baby gifts. They weren't as happy when Lily was born. What's going on? I felt uncomfortable with the disparity in my husband's and in-laws' attitudes towards our children. Ever since Rick's birth, my husband and in-laws have doted on him. Look, he yawned. So cute, my husband would exclaim, constantly taking photos of Rick. My in-laws would frequently visit, bringing snacks and toys, saying things like, here, let Rick have this, or we bought a toy that Rick would probably like. On the other hand, they seemed completely indifferent to Lily. My husband and my in-laws only have eyes for our son, completely ignoring our daughter. When it comes to pictures, my husband takes dozens, even hundreds of photos of our son. To counteract that, I took dozens, even hundreds of photos of our daughter. If I didn't, only pictures of our son would remain, and our daughter would be heartbroken when she grows up. Hey dear, please cherish Lily more. Both of them are precious kids. I want you to treat them equally. When I made that request to my husband, he tilted his head and asked why. The eldest son has always been the important heir. What use is a daughter, honestly? I began to doubt my husband's character upon hearing those words. You're joking, right? How can you say your child isn't useful? Are you even a parent? My husband responded with a calm expression. I'm planning to take over my dad's business. So after I take over, what then? The eldest son is the crucial heir, so of course I dote on him. My father-in-law runs a small trading company. Being the chairman, my father-in-law semi-retired, and my husband had taken over as the president. I understand thinking about the next generation. But even if he's the heir, why can't it be a daughter? I'd love to see her shine as a female CEO. When I said that, my husband became furious. CEO? That's unreliable. It's always been men who become CEOs. I got tired of arguing against my husband's stubborn beliefs. Is that so? Was all I could reply. This man who refuses to learn from society probably isn't as competent at his job as he thinks. My assumption would soon become reality. At the very least, I wanted to be a parent who showers both children with equal love. With that in mind, I focused on raising them. Over 10 years have passed and both children have grown wonderfully. Both will start middle school in 2 years. Thank you always for helping with dinner. When I said that to my children, my daughter, with a shy smile, said, "It's only natural we help since you're busy with work." My son, blushing a bit, looked down and said, "I didn't really do anything. My sister did most of it." I found them both so endearing that I wanted to hug them tight. There's no ranking when it comes to love for your children. Whether boy or girl, they are my precious treasures. I want to continue living our lives together, supporting one another. However, an event occurred that disrupted our daily life. My father-in-law, who remained the chairman, suddenly passed away. Just the night before, he had enthusiastically had 3 helpings of dinner. He had an acute heart attack in his sleep and didn't wake up the next morning. He used to visit us often, buying toys and treats for my son. Although he was a man of few words, we didn't converse much. Despite my disbelief, I hurriedly went to my in-laws' house with my husband. My mother-in-law was crying uncontrollably, and my husband was slouched, holding his head. I thought both were mourning the death of my father-in-law. But on closer listening, that wasn't the case. I'm so anxious about handling the CEO responsibilities alone. I have no one to consult with now. If only Rick had gone to college, we could have relied on him for the company's matters. The two of them were concerned about work during my father-in-law's funeral. Seeing their inappropriate concerns was so absurd that my children and I simply ignored them. Even after the funeral, my husband and mother-in-law continued to excessively pamper my son. "We have installed a drink machine at the company for you, Rick. After school, you can stop by any time and have some juice. Rick, anything you want? Grandma will buy it for you. Just let me know anytime." From a young age, both my husband and mother-in-law spoiled my son. But this became more intense after my father-in-law's passing. Both my husband and mother-in-law had the same intention. They wanted our son to develop an interest in the family business, hoping he would join when he became an adult. Their intentions were clear to our son. Dad and Grandma are so weird. They are obviously trying to involve me in the company, but I will not join my father's company. I dream of becoming a YouTuber. Seeing that, my son gave a huff and chuckled. My son is a big fan of a certain video creator and dreams of working in video production one day. I hope you pursue the job you are passionate about. There's no need to force yourself into a job you are not interested in. That is what I told him, sincerely cheering for my son's dreams. Children have dreams and hopes, and adults should not dictate or decide those dreams for them. I have decided to respect my son's wishes and not worry about my husband or my mother-in-law. No matter how much my husband and mother-in-law tried to get my son interested in the family business, he showed no interest. They sometimes make sarcastic remarks at me, but I never intended to force anything on him. To me, it's like pushing against a closed door. From my perspective, it's only natural. Kids observe their families and society and form their own judgments about adults. It seems my husband and mother-in-law finally lost their patience. He is the eldest son. Isn't it natural for him to be interested in the family business? Even after I added a fancy drink machine, why won't he visit my company? Well, I'll invite him over and make him interested in the business one way or another. I can imagine that sort of conversation happening between them. They hatched a plan, lying in wait for my son after school, ready to surprise him. "Let's go to Grandma's house. We're staying overnight." My mother-in-law forcefully dragged my son into the car. "I don't want to," he protested. "I plan to play games with my friends today." But she took him to her house anyway and showed him various photos. "Here's a picture from when your dad went to Guam," she said. The company allows for trips like this. Which country would you like to visit? What she showed was a photo from a company trip abroad. I don't really know much about other countries, my son replied. Pressing further, my mother-in-law asked, then where would you like to go right now? It could be anywhere, even an amusement park or zoo. Suddenly, my son stood up shouting, the place I want to go to most right now is my friend's house. We had plans to play games today. He ran away from his grandmother's house and went straight to his friend's place nearby. Hello, I answered the phone. Rick just came over crying, saying he escaped from Grandma. Upon receiving the call from my son's friend's mother, I hurriedly went to pick him up. I hate Grandma, my son sobbed. I also hate Dad because he always belittles you and Sis. Seeing my son cry so hard, I began to deeply resent my in-laws. Are they really prioritizing business inheritance over their grandson's well-being just because he's a boy? I'm sorry for forcing you to live with a father you despise. From now on, it'll just be you, me, and your sister. When I said that and hugged my son, he smiled and asked, really? Do I not have to hand that stubborn old man soy sauce or napkins anymore? Yeah. From now on, just do it for someone you truly want to. Upon hearing this, my son shouted in joy, yes! I can't stand living with someone like you anymore, who makes your own children and wife do everything for you while you just laze around. Rick doesn't want to live with you either. So sign this. I should have done this a long time ago. I don't mind if you want a divorce, but you're gonna struggle. Your caregiving job doesn't pay much. Do you think you can support 2 kids on that? Ignoring my sarcastic husband, I said, enough of your concerns, just sign this quickly, and handed him the divorce papers. All high and mighty, huh? Well, fine. You'll be the one struggling down the road anyway. Grumbling to himself, he finally signed the papers. It seemed the shock of Rick running away had made an impact. To me, getting away was more important than any alimony. Unknown to my husband, I'd been working on improving my skills in caregiving. I'd earned my care management certification and was furthering my studies to start my own home care service. After our divorce, I opened a home care service, working hard while being supported by my children. 5 years post-divorce, my children were in high school. After high school, I want to work in an office at a telecommunications company. I want to use the computer skills I've learned. I want to go to a trade school to study video and game production. I believe I can become a successful video creator. Education is essential. They were both pursuing the paths they were passionate about. Then, one day out of the blue, my ex-husband and mother-in-law showed up. The company's about to go bankrupt. Help us, my ex-husband exclaimed immediately upon seeing me. What happened? And why come to me? I was puzzled, but my mother-in-law started explaining. Davis really messed up at the company. The CEO of our business partner was replaced by a woman. That's as far as I got from my mother-in-law. I could already see where this was headed. You're skeptical because she's a woman, aren't you? You're wondering if she's reliable enough for your business relationship? Suddenly, my ex-husband's eyes widened in surprise. How the heck do you know that? I don't, but it's pretty obvious. Did you lose that major client because of it? My mother-in-law hesitated, then said, that's not the only thing. Davis fired all the female employees, saying they're not fit for the job. This caused delays in our response to the client, and they were so pissed, they ended the contract. Because he doesn't like women? I glared at my ex-husband and he defensively replied, well, they're the ones making mistakes with client communications and document errors. I had to eliminate the problem. Suddenly, my mother-in-law burst into tears. The mistakes in communication and document errors were all Davis's fault. He blamed all the female staff and even went as far as firing them. Mom, just shut up. It's not my fault. They are the ones unfit for the job. I could only sigh at my ex-husband's pathetic excuses. Anyway, it's none of my business. Whether you lose clients or face lawsuits for wrongful terminations, it's your own doing. Discuss company matters among yourselves. Goodbye. As I was about to close the front door, my ex-husband said, wait, Rick is in high school now, right? Once he graduates, would he consider joining our company? I need his help to get things back on track. What are you expecting? There's no way Rick can turn your company around. He's just finishing high school. As I turned around, I noticed our son, Rick, staring intently at his father. Rick? Long time no see. How about joining Dad's company after graduation? To which Rick coldly replied, Who are you guys? What do you mean who? I'm your father. In his frustration, my ex-husband grabbed Rick's shoulder. Rick calmly responded with a smile. I grew up thanks to my mom and sister. Now that I think about it, there used to be a nagging guy always asking for tea and tissues staying at our place. My ex-husband was at a loss for words and crumbled to the floor, overwhelmed. I was the breadwinner, taking care of this family, and now I'm being called a freeloader? Then our daughter, who had appeared from the back of the room, delivered the final blow. If you're the breadwinner, shouldn't you show equal love and care regardless of gender? The guy I'm seeing doesn't look down on me just because I'm a woman. I was surprised to hear my daughter mention she was seeing someone. If you're seeing someone, you could have told me. It's only natural for lovers to care for one another. So who is he? I was too embarrassed to mention it. Unlike that man over there, he's kind and never acts superior. As we continued chatting, my ex-husband, still in shock, was waved at by Rick. Take care, mister. Do your best to fix your company. The fact that his own children referred to him as Mr. was apparently too much for him. We never saw him again. Due to my ex-husband's chauvinistic attitude, the trading company he managed was struggling. Months later, I noticed that the place where the company used to be had transformed into a typical chiropractic clinic. Whether it went out of business or moved elsewhere, I didn't care to find out. I didn't know, nor did I care, what my ex-husband and mother-in-law were up to. I was living happily with my daughter, who is now a working adult, and my son, who went on to a vocational school. Recently, my daughter has been inviting her boyfriend over to our place more often. Welcome. Make yourself at home, I would say. Thank you. If you'd like, please have some of this, I would offer, pointing to the pudding from the bakery near the station. I love it. I'll serve it with some tea. Unlike my ex-husband, this young man is courteous and well-mannered. Watching their relationship blossom has become one of my joys. My daughter is interested in expanding my caregiving business. My son even mentioned that he might help out if she becomes the CEO. The thought of a chauvinistic man's son assisting a female CEO is quite amusing. And I bet my son finds it amusing as well. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. If you resonated with the content, please leave a positive rating and a comment.